A lot of nurses don't pursue their NP degrees. What was your reason for pursuing your NP degree?
As a staff nurse practitioner, I was just very overwhelmed. So anybody who's looking to get into nurse practitioner, it's going to be like becoming a baby nurse all over again. We'll be coming out with a course on how to launch your own CPR business and start to make about 2 to 5K a month with CPR supplemental as well.
And we need to learn from you because you nurse practitioners are doing something that we are not doing, and we need to get on board. In this episode, we're going to be speaking with a nurse practitioner who has a monthly income of $16,000. And she learned how to work smarter, not harder, when she went from working as a private practice nurse practitioner to a traveling nurse practitioner. She is also a CPR instructor and makes $3,000 to $5,000 certifying healthcare workers and teaching others how to do the same. So let's get to it. Alaya, let us know who you are and what it is that you currently do for a living.
So my name is Alaya Miller. I am a travel family nurse practitioner. So I specialize in primary care and I'm also a CPR instructor.
Cool. And where are you living at the moment?
So right now I'm actually on my first contract in California.
Interesting. What part of California?
I am in a very remote and rural area. It's called Happy Camp, California. It's in the mountains far away.
I know where that is. I've driven by there before.
Oh wow. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like
Happy Camp.
right by Wairika.
Yes. Yeah. So how long have you been there for now?
Just about a month now.
Oh, okay. And let's go back first, though. Tell me why you even became a nurse and where did you grow up?
Okay, so I am from Florida, a small town called Polk County, Florida, or Bartow, Florida. Kind of near the nearest point would be like Orlando, Florida. Currently, my home is in Orlando. I became a nurse in 2014. I became an LPN. So I kind of stepped up the ladder, went from LPN to RN to BSN to MSN, family nurse practitioner. So I've been in nursing for over 10 years since 2014 as an LPN. And yeah, I've always been just a nurturing person. And since I've been working, it's always been in medical. I started as a home health aide, so kind of like a CNA in the house, and then LPN. So I've always been in medical.
Do you think working in that field before you got your, let's say, LPN and RN and NP licenses, do you think working in those fields actually helped you through school?
Oh, of course. Yes, because it gives you like the fundamental hands-on background. So not only understanding the book version, but also understanding the reality. Some people say that that can kind of offset you as well because you're so into how it's done in the real world versus textbook, but you just cipher between the two. But yes, it did put me ahead a lot. As for example, as an LPN, you really push a lot of medications. So by the time I was an RN, I knew the generic, the brand, the indications, things like that, just because of my LPN experience.
Did any of your employers reimburse you for nursing school?
No.
Yeah, and you said you went to school in Florida as well, or did you go somewhere else?
I went to school in Florida, but so in Florida we have like the Bright Futures Scholarship and also Pell Grant. So my LPN was paid in full. I actually went to college on a softball scholarship. So I'm actually an athlete. So a lot of my college was paid for in full through my sports scholarship as well.
So that degree, which one was it? Was that your RN degree, your BSN?
So I graduated high school 2010. From 2010 to 2012, I got an Associate of Arts. That one was paid through sports. And because my major, so I got through all my prereqs, micro, anatomy, things like that. After those 2 years, the coaches were telling me I had to decide between nursing or softball because they were too conflicting. We would have to leave to go travel to play ball, but then I need to do clinicals. So they were like, can you major in like health sciences, something like that? But my dad was like, no, you're going to school for an education, playing softball is a plus. So my Associates of Arts was paid for. After that, I got into an LPN program. That was paid for through like a grant, so that was free. And then after that, I got into a bridge program, LPN to RN. That one was paid with still like Pell Grant that I still had left over and scholarship monies from the college. And I didn't really start coming out of pocket for my degree until I want to say my master's actually, because bachelor's I kind of got scholarship money too.
Wow, that's amazing. So, what was your like career progression over the time? Because you're going to school, you get, let's say you're an LPN, or first you were working at a nursing home, right? That's what you said, or home
As an
health
L,
aide?
I was working as a home health aide while I
Mhm.
was in LPN school.
Okay. And then when you graduated and you got your LPN, where did you work?
I was in the nursing home and corrections. So,
Okay.
corrections, that's high risk, so they pay a little more,
Yeah.
a
And
lot more.
and all of this was in Florida.
Yes.
Okay. So you got your LPN degree, you got your license, and you were working corrections. Then you went and you got your RN. So what did you do and where did you work after that?
When I first got my RN, I stayed in corrections for just a couple months, but I noticed that I was losing my skills. You're not doing IV drips, you're not hanging blood in the jail, things like that. So I then went to a hospital in Orlando Regional Medical Center, which is a level 1 trauma center. I actually was on like med surg and PCU. I stayed there for about 2 years. And then in 2021, I started travel nursing.
Okay, for people who don't know what PCU stands for, can you tell them what it means?
So PCU is progressive care unit. So it's actually in the middle between, you have ICU, PCU, and then med surg. So it's that middle point before they become a little more stable.
And some states might call it step down units, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And can you explain to me like what your patient load was like and what kind of patients you saw on those units?
It wasn't too bad before COVID hit. So we were
Mm.
doing about 4 patients, 4 to 5. Way back then, that was like 5 years ago. Like 20, what was that? Like 2018, 2019, something like that. But it wasn't bad. It was more like cardiac patients, people that were like hypertensive emergencies, post-surgical patients, patients with low hemoglobins that were getting a lot of blood transfusions, just anything that was a step down from ICU, but it wasn't too crazy. So they made sure they were stable before they came to PCU.
And did you guys have set ratios on those units?
Supposed to, yeah. Like everywhere. Yeah, so about 4 to 5, which ORMC is a highly rated hospital. So yeah, they stuck to that 4 to 5.
It's pretty good. And do you
Mhm.
remember how much you were making at the time?
Probably in the 20s, maybe like 25, but ORMC, Orlando Health, like I said, it's a great institute. They do give you pay raises for every little thing you do. So for me, I became a part of the wound care resource team. That was a 50-cent raise. When you got your bachelor's, that was $1 raise. When you hit your year mark, that was another $1 raise. So I probably went from starting at 25 and probably got up to like 28, 29 between my first and second year.
Gotcha. Okay. And that was during the time that you had gone from LPN to RN, right?
Correct.
And then where did you go after you finished your 2 years?
Travel nursing.
Okay. And why did you decide to travel nurse to begin with? Was this during COVID?
Yes, it was at the start of COVID in
Mhm.
2021. And I'm actually a very analytical and play it by the book type person. So I was not about to go travel nursing. My friend, one of my best friends, she is a risk taker. And she went to New York when it first popped off, when it was crazy. She was like, come on, they're making 10K a week, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, what about my benefits? What about my 401k? Like, I'm thinking about everything else. And she said, forget those benefits. You'll make that on the first check. And I was like, and then I had my family in my ear, like, no, don't go out there. It's too bad, da, 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 da. And so, yeah, I finally just took a leap of faith and took a risk. And I actually went to my first job out there was in the emergency room.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
From
you
PC
went,
to ER.
yeah, so you went from PCU med surge type situation to now the ER, you said?
Correct. Yes.
Oh my gosh. And what hospital was this in?
That was Texas, Advent Health, Texas.
Advent?
In Killeen, Texas, where the biggest army base is. But God is a great God. Every time I've been put into a new situation, He's always put me in circumstances where there's either someone there that just takes me under their wing, or it's a very low populated area. So I wasn't thrown into a level 1 ER. It was like level 4.
I see. And what was the experience like though? Because you've never worked in an ER before coming to this place as a travel nurse. Like,
Mm-hmm.
usually when people say, oh, if you're going to get into travel nursing, you need to have like a year of experience in that field, in that specialty. So, what was it like compared to what you were used to? Because, it's a fast paced environment in the ER.
Mm-hmm.
It's also fast paced in med surg and PCU, but ER is a whole different ball game.
Exactly.
So, how would you describe it?
So like I said, my best friend is a risk taker, and she said, Alacia, I know based off your skills and your competency level that you will have no issue in the ER. And I said, are you sure? And she said, yes, like you kill it on PCU. And I know that multitasking isn't a problem for you. So I know that you would rock the ER. And she said, you don't have to be afraid because when something happens in the ER, it's a team effort. So if your patient code, everybody in the pods comes to your room. So it's not like you're there by yourself. I said, okay, so I get there and it was kind of like, it was crucial staffing. And you can sign up for a specialty and you can get moved in crucial. Like it was so even though I didn't sign up to go to ER, it was kind of like, oh, can you go to ER? And I'm like, sure, okay, this is another specialty under my belt. I'm increasing my resume. Okay, and it's a level 4? Yeah. So I go and it was fast paced, but I caught on just like that. Nobody would ever have known that, even when they extended us and some people went home, they were like, oh, we'll keep you. And I'm like, nobody ever knew.
And how many contracts did you do that for?
So after I got my experience in ER, I traveled in ER from that point forth.
And did you stay in Texas or did you travel across the country?
So I stayed at that hospital for about 4 months. So I got about 4 months of experience there. And after that, I came back to Florida and I did a lot of contracts in Kissimmee. So I will alternate between PCU, ER, just to keep both specialties up to date. And then I went back out to Texas. I want to say I went out for like the 10K contracts maybe 2 or 3 times.
And was this all in like 2021, 2022? What years was this in?
I did travel nursing from 2021 to 2023, so 2 years.
Wow, that's a long time. Why did you stop doing it?
I was in nurse practitioner school.
Oh.
Yeah, so I started NP school 2020 and I graduated 2022. So it's like a 2-year program. So while I was doing travel nursing, I was doing my online classes for nurse practitioner in those hotel rooms, working 6 days a week. The one day I'm off, I'm finishing discussion posts, I'm doing the work. And I didn't stop traveling until it was time to do clinical time, my last year in my nurse practitioner school.
I see. And how much were you making at the peak?
So when I traveled as a nurse practitioner, I made like a little over 200K.
Wow.
Yeah.
And was that with breaks in between, like, a couple of weeks off here, a couple of weeks off there?
Yeah. I mean, because when I went to my first contract making 10K a week, I was there for 4 months. So that's 160,000 in 4 months.
Jeez.
Yeah, you're making 40K a month, 10K a week, 4 times 4, 160, 160K in 4 months.
Yeah. And but are you working 6 days a week the whole time you're doing this?
Those 4 months, yes.
Damn, that's rough. That's rough.
Until Crucial sent us home. So a lot of the times it was who you work with that kept you motivated, kept you strength. Like their one day off, they would, text the rest of us and say, hey, I'm going to the store. What can I get you? So on your day off, you can like relax or, whatever.
Yeah. I mean, the plus side is that you still get like meal vouchers and all these other things included, right? When you are a travel nurse.
Right.
Because I work with a couple of people who work a lot of hours. And I just talked about this in my live stream. I had a live stream not so long ago, but one of the nurses, she sent me her paycheck so I can review it in the live stream. She made $21,697 in one pay period, so like in 2 weeks. And she worked 133 hours. So like 65 hours a week, basically, to make that much. But she's a staff nurse and she used to be a travel nurse, but she ended up going staff because she realized like that the rates started going down. So is that part of the reason why you decided to leave, RN travel life in addition to you getting your NP?
I wouldn't say I left because the prices dropped, because there are always different ways. Like I did strike nursing where you can still make that same rate. So the only reason that I left travel nursing is because I had to put it on hold for clinicals. Like I had to go do 3 months in adult, 3 months in pediatrics, 3 months in women's health, 3 months in family, those different specialties to become a family nurse practitioner. That was the only reason I left travel nursing.
Geez, wait, so you said you had to do 3 months in each? Like how many shifts a week did you have to do?
So I think it was like 120 hours for the semester. Yeah. So your first year of nurse practitioner school is didactic. So it's just like class, things like that. The second year, you're doing clinicals with the didactic for that clinical. So if they said 120 hours in 3 months, you can knock it out as fast as you want or pan it out as long as you want and just do, 3 hours a week or something like that and do it the entire 3 months. But I would try to knock it out early so I can go back and travel.
I see. And what was the hardest part for you besides, like the scheduling issue? What was the hardest part of going to school for your NP license?
Honestly, it wasn't that bad. My friend that I mentioned starting travel nursing with, we were doing it together. Yeah. So, and we actually had another friend we were doing it with. So it was the three of us. So we helped each other. I'm not sure if you probably did like college classes where how discussion posts work, but you post your discussion and then you have to reply to two other people. So sometimes what we would do is I would write my discussion and I would also write a reply to me and then give it to one of them. So we would all write a reply to ourselves so that our first reply is already done. So honestly, it was nothing too much. I mean, other than just being tired from working a 12-hour shift and going back to the hotel room and knocking out a discussion post or making sure that assignments were submitted. But it was like a sacrifice that I was willing to take at the time. And I knew what was encompassed in it. So.
Okay, so my next question is a lot of nurses don't pursue their NP degrees. What was your reason for pursuing your NP degree?
I'm kind of the type of nurse or nurse practitioner that, or the type of woman that I always like to hit the top of whatever I'm doing. So if that's in the nursing field, I've always wanted to get my master's since I was just a child. Hence, my first job was always in from home health aide to LPN, that I always wanted to become a nurse practitioner. So just because things in life or the economy changed, or RNs are making what NPs make without the liability, blah, 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 that was always my set goal, to always become a nurse practitioner. So that was, like my dad says, always have your eye on the prize. And so that was just a tunnel vision that I've always wanted to become a nurse practitioner.
Is your dad in healthcare?
He's actually a fireman, so he does EMT as well.
Oh, so he does have experience, probably going to the hospital and seeing the way the nurses work, seeing how much they make, this and that. Like, because I know that EMTs that we work with, they're like, man, I should have just gone to nursing school.
Exactly.
Because they do a lot of work. It
They
is a
do.
lot of work. And then, in addition to that, they basically, a lot of the times, it feels like they're almost doing the same that we're doing. Not the same, but they're doing very similar things to what nurses are doing, but they're doing it in a more dangerous situation because they're out in the field. When they're going to see the patient and pick the patient up, they don't know what they're getting themselves into.
Exactly.
Usually, when we get the patients in the ER, we're getting a call and they're letting us know what they're bringing in.
Exactly.
Okay, so you got your NP degree, and then what happened? What happened after that?
So I actually graduated. Well, I finished my nurse practitioner degree in July of 2022. So I went to school at Walden University, that's in Minnesota, but it was all online. So with that school, they have graduations in different areas every 6 months. So when I graduated in July of 2022, graduation was in Texas. I live in Florida. So I was like, but they said, well, graduation in January in the next 6 months is in Orlando. So I said, oh, that's perfect. So I actually graduated July of 2022, but I didn't walk until January of 2023. So that it actually motivated me because I had a friend that passed her boards before she walked. She walked the stage already a licensed nurse practitioner. So I said, I'm setting a goal from July to January, I want to pass my boards. So I ended up passing my boards in December of 2022, right before graduation in January. And I also invested, I see that you interviewed one of my mentors, two of my mentors. One is Ebony Time. So I actually invested in her course in December before I even, started my nurse practitioner career. So yeah, I passed boards in December 2022, graduated January 2023, or walked January 2023, and then I started working in April of 2023 as a nurse practitioner.
Okay. And did you work in a acute care facility, a private office? What kind of work were you doing?
Primary care, so outpatient primary care.
Okay. Okay. Now I want to know, what kind of patients were you seeing in this primary care facility, and how many hours a day were you working? Just give me like a rough picture of all of those things.
Oh gosh. Just try to remember, like, going into nursing your first time and trying to get your groove and get your routine and time management skills. It was that times 10. So you just felt like a baby nurse all over again with more liability, and you're taking care of patients that think you know everything because you're a provider. So going into that, you sign up for 40 hours a week, but as a provider, you're placed on a salary majority of the time when you're staff, but you end up working way more than 40 hours a week. You give 40 hours a week in the clinic, But after hours, you're still documenting, you're still interpreting labs that are coming in every day because we're seeing 15 to 20 patients a day. And so as a staff nurse practitioner, I was just very overwhelmed. So anybody who's looking to get into nurse practitioner, it's going to be like becoming a baby nurse all over again, getting your momentum, learning time management skills, all of that. So it was very heavy for me my first year, but I did have a great coworker system. Like I did have like a PA and a couple nurse practitioners that I worked with that really helped me, but they felt that I was pretty good my first year. They were like, "You're doing really good." I'm like, so, but yeah, it was a lot. It was a
Mm.
lot.
And what kind of patients were you seeing?
I was seeing all across the spectrum, any comorbidities, any chronic care. So high blood pressure, diabetes, cholesterol, women's health, pap smears, annual physicals with children, annual physicals with adults, seizures, mental health. So as family, we see you're certified to see everything.
Yeah, now I get it. That's a lot.
Yes.
You have to know it all. It's
Yeah.
like, you were so used to just being specialized in, like, let's say PICU or ER. Like, the task is always going to be very, I wouldn't say similar, but you kind of know, you build a routine, right? In a lot of these units. But if you're working with all these type of patients now, just like you said, women's health, mental health, like in the ER, you hand off the women's health to OB, right? You hand off a lot of these things to the different specialties, but you are dealing with them yourself. That's rough. That's rough.
Exactly. So yeah, and the patients expect you to know everything. It's the stress of a new work environment, the stress of learning new ways to maneuver, time management, and then the stress of appearing to be competent in everything as a new grad.
And do you remember what the pay was like at the time?
So starting out typically in Florida for a new grad nurse practitioner, you're anywhere from 100 to 110 the first year.
And were you renting or did you buy a house at this time?
I actually bought a home from travel nursing.
Oh, so all the money you made from travel nursing ended up buying a home with that money.
Well, I actually still got a lot of it still there, but I ended up buying me a home and I actually invested and bought my mom a home as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can you be my daughter?
You sound
That's
like my
awesome.
auntie. My aunt has 2 sons, and she's
Yeah.
like, I don't know what I'm gonna do when I get older. Can you just come be my daughter?
Yeah, but you still have money left over, correct?
Yeah.
Damn, that's how much money you made during the peak, right, of COVID. And are you still doing any type of travel NP work or any traveling at all?
So I began my first career as a nurse practitioner April 2023. April of this year, 2024, marked my 1 year mark as a nurse practitioner. After that, I began to do travel nurse practitioner with Ebony. So right now, I'm on my first travel NP job in California.
Wow. Did
Yeah.
you watch Ebony's video on my channel or did you just find her on Instagram?
So I found Ebony 2 years ago. I invested in her course in 2022 when I passed my boards. And she said, yeah, you can get in the course, but I would recommend you get some experience under your belt. And I said, I want to get experience under my belt. So I said, my plan, I'm going to get a year of experience and then I'm going out to travel. And that's exactly what I did. So I kept tabs with Ebony for 2 years. I did courses where I went and practiced skills like suturing, stapling, ultrasounds, IUDs, all that to be a marketable provider. And at my year mark, I left and went to travel. So now April was my year mark. It's May, and I'm now doing my first month in travel nurse practitioner.
Man. And how are you liking it so far?
I love it. It's like double the pay for less the work. And even it's just like travel nursing. Like you can more so tolerate what you're doing when you're making more. So, when we were making 10K a week, but we were working 6 days a week, it's like, but I'm making $40,000, so I'll deal with it. But for here, my first travel job has actually been really great. I've worked half the patients. My first year, we were seeing 15 to 20 patients a day. Here, I'm seeing about 10 patients a day. So half the patients, double the pay, and I don't have to deal with the politics of working there because honestly, everybody treats me like I'm God sent because I'm here to help.
Yeah, I know. I remember speaking with Ebony and she was telling me all these good things that you travel NPs get. And I'm like, damn, if more nurses knew about this, there would be a lot more NPs out there for sure.
Yeah. And when you get a taste of travel nursing, you can't go back staff. So when I became a nurse practitioner, I said, I want to travel as a nurse practitioner now. So that was always the game plan. Once I got my year under my belt, I left and went to travel nurse practitioner to make more.
Wow. And what is your plan with the money that you're making right now? Do you want to just save it up? Do you want to invest it? Where is it going to?
So ultimately, it's going to go to investing. I think my next thing is either going to be like an apartment complex or a duplex, something like that. But and ultimately to buy my dream home as well.
Yeah, I just had an interview and I had one before with this guy. His name is Stephen Wen. This is a pharmacist who owns 52 rental units.
Wow.
And yeah, he owns 5 properties, 5 houses out here in California. But
Mm-hmm.
all his other rental units are like in Oklahoma and like in the Midwest.
Mm-hmm.
And at the moment, he has to pay his contractor because he had to renovate the units. But he is, I think, generating anywhere between $8 to $12,000 a month from all of those properties, taking into account the fact that he has to pay his contractor. He said this is the last month that he has to pay his contractor, and he's paying him $5,000 a month. So after he finishes paying him, he should be banking like anywhere from $13,000 to $17,000, $18,000 a month easy. And that's just from that income. He is also a pharmacist earning like 269,000 a year, somewhere around there, 260,000. And then his future wife, his fiance, I think she's earning something like $180,000 a year.
Wow.
So you can just imagine how much money they're making. It's insane. But he
Exactly.
said he doesn't plan on leaving his job anytime soon because he's a director, actually, a pharmacy director. So he manages like 160 employees, and he's afraid of leaving his job at the moment because he feels that even though his net worth is like $6 million, it's all tied to real estate. So like if something does happen, at
Mm-hmm.
least at the moment, he knows he has his job as a backup plan because all the income he gets from his properties, that just goes into like buying more properties. And also it helps him pay his mortgage, right? But the
Mm-hmm.
income he gets from his job, that's what he uses if he wants to go on a vacation with him and his wife and they want to have fun with that money. That's his fun money.
Right.
But it's crazy how big his portfolio got so quickly. He
Mm-hmm.
started investing in rental properties maybe like 3, 4 years ago, and now he's got 52 rental units.
That's crazy.
Yes.
He has to be. I wonder if he's doing like wholesaling. Because
No, no, actually, no. You'd be surprised. So, like, he bought those rental properties in a huge apartment complex. So, it's like he has a 26 unit apartment complex. I believe it's 26 units. Don't quote me on that. But he bought that one something for like $500,000 when he purchased it. It
Mm-hmm.
was worth $500,000.
Wow.
Now it's worth like 1.3 million or something like that. It's like a huge number. It's worth a really high number. And then he also has another one, which is an apartment complex with several other units as well. So altogether, he does have like 2 apartment complexes and 5 single family homes.
Wow.
Yeah. But he said it was the apartment complexes that skyrocketed his net worth and his income.
Hmm.
Because, if one person vacates the property, you still have, of the 26 units, you still have 25 units generating income for. As
Right.
opposed to a single family home, if one person vacates the property and it's only one person staying there, you lose all your income.
Exactly.
So that's why I like to have these conversations with people that I interview because I learned so many new things from you guys.
Mm-hmm.
And even like Ebony, all the stuff that she was telling me, how it felt like they just roll the red carpet for you guys when you go to a new assignment.
Exactly.
Yeah, but would you say your level of satisfaction is much higher now as a travel NP than it was as an LPN, RN, NP, like all of those other professions?
Because I'm trying to compare 5 years or 8 years of nursing with 2 years of MP. So I think maybe I would say I choose nurse practitioner because I finally reached my goal of where I wanted to be. But I did love nursing when I was there as well. So I mean both. But 2 years of being a nurse practitioner, I can't really say which one I like better
Yeah.
at this point. Yeah.
And you said that you want to invest in real estate, but you also ultimately want to buy something for yourself.
Correct.
What do you mean by that? Because I thought you said you currently own a home.
Yeah, so I own a townhome so I started it crazy. I was getting a house built, and this was back when COVID was going crazy, and the material that they had for building the home was running short, and they were just prolonging building the house. So I ended up pulling out of the contract. And I said, you know what? With me being gone half the time, I'm in Chicago, I'm in Texas, I'm in Delaware traveling. Maybe I should just get a townhome and where the yard upkeep is kept by the HOA, things like that. So I ended up buying a townhome, and then I ended up buying my mom a condo. But that's not my forever home. Those are actually going to be, rental properties to bring me in, passive income to pay for the mortgage of my dream home. So it's kind of me building a portfolio until I can get where I want to go, pull the equity out of all those properties to purchase the dream home.
I see. And all right, so let's go over some numbers now, because this is what my viewers are most interested in. Can you go over what your income is like at the end of the month, like average? You don't have to go into like specific detail, but maybe if you can.
Mm-hmm.
How much are you generating on a monthly basis, average? So, like, let's say you made 200,000 last year. Like, just give me the average on a monthly basis. And how much are you spending out of that income on a monthly basis?
Okay. So as of right now, as a travel nurse practitioner, we make about $95. Well, right now I'm making $95 an hour. You can make more. So my monthly income, if I'm making 95 an hour, 40 hours a week, we get paid about 4,000 a week. 4 times 4, that puts you at about 16,000 a month for nurse practitioner. I'm also a CPR instructor as well. With doing those classes, I can generate anywhere between 3 to 5,000 a month. So with the just say 15,000 from nurse practitioning, 5,000 from CPR, that puts me at 20,000 a month. Honestly, my expenses for the month is about between because I paid my car off with travel nursing, between the gym and car insurance and telephone bill, things like that, my monthly bills are about $1,500 a month.
You know, I keep hearing this from every nurse practitioner now. You're not the first one. So I interviewed this nurse practitioner. Her name is Sophia.
Uh-huh.
And she was in Spain when I interviewed her. And I'm like, what are you doing in Spain? She's like, well, I'm off right now. You know, I can just work whenever I need to if I need some extra money or something. She has rental properties also, but she made enough money to where she was able to save like 90% of her income because, you know, like I said, as nurse practitioners, you get the red carpet rolled over, you know, so you can just walk right into it. And she got the rental cars when she got to the location she was going to go to do the assignment at. They paid for that, or I believe she said she had enough points or something like that to get it for free. I forgot the exact terminology she used, but they pay for like any lodging, or they give you reimbursement for that, or a voucher. They also in some cases will pay for flights. It's just basically you don't have to pay for anything. You just got to show up for work and everything's covered.
Exactly.
And if you have a property that you already own and maybe it's paid for, then you don't even have to worry about paying for a mortgage. So, my gosh, you guys are all doing it right. And we need to learn from you because you nurse practitioners are doing something that we are not doing and we need to get on board.
I mean, I think the only difference well, not the only difference, but one of the big differences between me being a travel nurse and a travel nurse practitioner is with providers, they do roll out the red carpet. For travel nurses, it's like, okay, here's your stipend, find you somewhere to stay. So, and sometimes a stipend covers that depending on your, expectation of living, or sometimes you have to add to that. But it's kind of putting in your head, what do you want to bring home? Can I sacrifice on the living space so that I can have more in my pocket? But yeah, that was the difference leaving from travel nurse to travel nurse practitioner is our rental cars are paid for 3 months, and we can put our own like business code on the rental car, so we get the points for 3 months. And then with the flights, you get the points from the flights, like that's free. And then the lodging here, they have a house that they give the provider and say, okay, that's your house. And the business, like this office, they cover that house.
I
Yeah.
love that. I just love that. And are you a 1099 employee?
1099. So yeah, I learned that through Ebony's course, and
Mm.
so they pay you through your business, so you get more. Basically, you get more money in your pocket the way you're taxed.
That is great. So I know there's a lot of viewers that are always contacting me and asking me how can they go about reaching out to our guests. So if somebody is interested in like maybe following you or reaching out to you, how would they reach out to you?
So I am on a couple platforms. I am on Instagram. My Instagram handle is Flourish Lay, and that's flourish underscore LAAYY. And then on Facebook, I am on there as my name, Alaya Miller, or my business page is NP Nurse Practitioner, NP Lux and Wellness CPR. Or you can also go to my website for my CPR. That is npluxcpr.com. So I do offer BLS, ACLS, and PALS recertifications and initial certifications for all nurses. So I've kind of used, my other mentor is Chrissy, and I know you've interviewed her as well, but I've also scaled that business as well. We'll be coming out with a course on how to launch your own CPR business and start to make about 2 to 5K a month with CPR supplemental as well.
Wow, you know what? Let's get a little deeper into that before we end this call then. Because I want to know more about the CPR thing. How did you get into that?
So actually, When I bought into Ebony's community and her mentorship, December 2022, I just rolled that out for the year that I did my first year of nurse practitioning. In January of this year, Ebony sponsored for me to go to a networking event. So I went to a networking event and I met Chrissy. These are nurses that also have side hustles, business, and as you know, Chrissy's making $500K plus a year. So I ended up just really resonating with her there, and her mentorship after that networking event. So January, I met her. February, I opened my CPR business. And within 3 months of opening my CPR business, I made $10,000 in the CPR business. So I also will teach in my course, I will teach nurses how to scale your business to make $10,000 in 3 months. Just this week, I've had my first, with CPR, that I was making about $500 a week initially starting, and that was $2,000 a month. So 3 days into the week so far, I've made $1,500. So now it's like I'm starting to make $4,000 or $5,000 a week. A month in CPR. So yeah, I just opened my CPR. It's been open for about 3 months, and now I'm at the point of making $5,000 a month. And now I'm launching a course actually this week to show other nurses how to start a supplemental income. Making $5,000, that's paying a lot of the bills, the lights, the cable, the car, all your expenses. So I think that's a great side hustle to have. And yeah.
Yeah, and you said you do BLS, ACLS, and PALS. Is that
Correct.
right? And do you have to get certified for all of these things?
Yeah.
For each
So
individual one?
correct. As an
Mm.
instructor, you have to go through training with a training center or a training site and learn how to run a class. You have to know how to interpret EKGs, how to teach it, how to run a mock code for your students. And after that, you get your certification for 2 years to be like an instructor. And then I can certify and renew CPR certification. So I actually have used my environment, which is where my avatar is, my consumer, nurses, providers. So I actually have like primary care offices when I work there. Hey, I can certify everybody in here for BLS. Everybody in there's so many different jobs that use CPR. It's crazy. From daycares, that's first aid, CPR, AED, nursing homes, dental offices. Like I have a client that's a dentist office. I go there and certify everybody there. The DMV, the security guards at the DMV, they have to know how to do CPR. So you can get corporate contracts in CPR. It's unlimited actually. So it's a great side hustle to have, especially when you're around your niche every day, all day. You work around different travel nurses and it's hard for them to get certification. I'm your go-to.
I love that. Do you get paid more for one versus the other, like PALS versus BLS?
Yes. So with BLS, that more so runs you like $90 to $100 for a course. With ACLS and PALS, because those are advanced, you're looking at $200 a course.
Oh, that's awesome. And do you have to pay licensing fees to an agency?
No. You mean like for my training center?
Yeah, like just to maintain your license as a trainer, do you have to pay like the heart
American Heart,
AHA?
yeah,
You
American
do.
Heart Association.
Yeah.
Yeah, so no, you don't. You just pay your training center like an annual fee when you first start up, and you actually just buy the cards from them in bulk, and then you just issue them. So say I charge $100 for BLS, the card may only cost me $9. So I just profited $90 on that class. So it just depends on which training center you are at and how they price their cards, which would be how much more you can profit.
Oh man, that is cool. How
Yeah.
did you learn this?
Well, it's just something that said, man, I know I'm always around nurses. I can make a lot of money just recertifying CPR cards. And when I went to the networking event, I told Chrissy, I just said, I always wanted to do CPR certification. She said, oh, I have one of my mentees here. She's a CPR instructor. I said, wow, look at God. So, networking is great. You can get to the finish line way faster than doing it by yourself. So I actually live by a quote that says you choose your M or you choose your P. You can either learn in life from mistakes or you can learn in life from a mentor. You can learn in life from pain or you can learn in life from people. It's the same, like mentorship, people, pain, or mistakes. So, networking and mentoring with Chrissy actually speeded along my business a lot. A lot of people starting out their business, sometimes they don't see 10K in a year getting it up and running. So to do that in the first 3 months, that was great. I've also really thrived in Ebony's course as well. So I'll actually be speaking at her event in August. Ebony's having an event in New York for 1099 healthcare professionals. So I'll also be speaking there from a new grad standpoint.
Man,
Yeah.
you guys, you are doing such a great thing for the nursing profession, in my opinion, because these are the things that we don't learn in nursing school. You
Mm-hmm.
know, these are the things that I wish we would have learned in nursing school because they only teach you how to pass the test. They teach you how to learn the material to pass the test, not to actually absorb and learn the material, but just to
Right.
pass the test. Then when you actually graduate and you start looking for work, you don't know what the job is going to pay. You don't know how much you're going to need in order to pay or make ends meet at the end of the month. They don't teach you any of that. They don't
Right.
teach you how to budget. They don't teach you how to plan for the future financially. Like, these are the reasons why I love bringing you guys on here, because this is the stuff that allows us to not get to the point where we're just burned out and we don't want to do it anymore. You know, there's always another option. If you're tired of the bedside, there's always something else. You can always do something else.
Yes. Nursing school, they teach you to how to be a part of the rat race.
Yeah.
They teach you how to be a consumer. They teach you how to be just another person in society. So it's actually like just like the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. You kind of just got to talk to different people. Hopefully you get exposed to what it means to really live. And when you get exposed to that, you know, you just embrace it and you're in a spot where you can like implement on it as well. Some people learn new things and say, oh, it can't be that good. You can't be making that much money from that. You can't be making that much money from digital products, instead of having an open mind and learning it, you know? So you'll never know until you try, but yeah.
If you enjoyed this video, then watch this video here where I interviewed a psychiatric nurse practitioner who makes well over $600,000 per year.